Hi, I'm Lisa Niven Kelly here for beachucation.com, and I want to introduce you to our new bezel rings and cubic zirconias, also known as CZs. These are awesome to have on hand because if you needed to make a birthstone ring, and yes, we do carry all the birthstone colors, you don't need to have every ring with every birthstone in every size. You just get the blank rings and set whatever stone you need. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to set the stones in these bezel rings. You can do it the traditional way with a prong pusher or a bezel rocker, or my favorite, the burnisher. I'm going to show you that in a second. Or you can use your new best friend, the bezel setting punch set. It makes life a lot easier. This punch set has 18 different size punches. And the way they work is they are concave and tapered. So the idea is when you press the punch over the bezel, this isn't right size, I'm just giving you an overview, and press down, the edges of the bezel will get pushed in with that taper and set around the stone. So let me show you how to do that. One of the best features of these rings is that inside the bezel there's a little shelf. I don't know if you can see it here, and it holds the stone really, really nicely. The first thing you need to do is get your stone into your ring. So I like to hold the ring first before putting the stone in a ring clamp. This is a ring clamp. The way it works is it holds something like a ring, for example, and you put the wedge in the other side, give it a good push. Now I typically hold it like that, but the camera angle's a little weird for me to be holding it up in the air. It likes to focus better down on something on the table, so I'm going to hold it like this for today. So you can pick up the stone with like a crystal picker upper tool, or I like to just lay it on its side and then push on it so it sticks to my finger, and then just get it in there nice and flat. You need to look at it from all angles and make sure that it is in there flat, because once you start setting it, it's going to sit and you don't want it sticking up on one side more than the other. So using a prong pusher or a bezel rocker or a burnishing tool, you're going to want to take the very top edge of the bezel and push it over the stone. Start by pushing it on the top, and then the bottom very lightly, and then maybe west and east to center the stone, and then you can work a little harder on actually getting the bezel to go on top of it. So let me show you how. Now, first of all, you want to make sure you have the ring way down in the clamp, otherwise you're just going to be bending it. So way down in the clamp, and I'm going to do my first little bend, not much, okay? And then this way. Now maybe one over here, watching the whole time to make sure that my stone hasn't adjusted. Okay, like I said, I have it on the side here because I was filming with my macro lens and I didn't have enough space to do this. But it's just too difficult to set at that weird angle. So I have switched lenses, and now I can hold it up like this. It's a lot easier to work on at this angle. So this is the motion as I go around. Or this side. Being very careful not to slip and hit your stone. The other nice thing about a burnisher, and the main purpose of it, is you can come along the edge and burnish it down when you're done, and it will smooth it out. And because of this nice shiny metal, it will give it a nice finish. If you find that you kind of nicked up your bezel anywhere, you can come in with some silicone bits and polish that up. We've got a lot of really good videos on our YouTube channel and on our site about polishing with different bits. The traditional way to set a stone is to hold it in a ring clamp like this and maybe brace it up against your table, your bench, or a bench pin. And you come in with the prong pusher, which is this nice handy tool. It's very shiny and smooth on the end, and press in the bezel. Try to do this with getting my hand out of the way, but you're going to press up against it and then rock over the top very gently at first. You're just like centering the stone at first, and then you can work a little harder on the bezel. Now that I've got it set and centered, I like to come in with this guy. So now I'm going to show you the easy way. I showed you the hard way. Let's do the easy way. So now I want to show you how to set a stone in the bezel using the bezel setting tool. So I'll use the 2mm ring for this. I'm pushing it down in my ring clamp, put the wedge in the other side. Okay, first things first, we got to get the stone in there. Make sure it's settled and flat. Awesome. So you can see this bezel is pretty tiny. It'd be kind of a pain to push over with a burnisher or a pusher, but with this punch set tool, it's really easy. Yes, the stone in there is 2mm, but that's the inner diameter of this bezel. And when you're setting it, you're going to be sort of working on the outside of the bezel. So 2.5 actually isn't big enough. 2.75 maybe? Yeah, that's better. So you want to be able to go on top of the bezel and not so far over it that the stone might hit the tool. So let's get this set up to go. So I've got the bit in the tool, and it's going to be hard for you to see because my hand's going to be hiding it, but I'm going to come right on top of it like that and sort of spin it to get it to settle down. Actually, I do it like this. And I rock as I go in a circle. You can spin it, but I'm pushing these two hands together. And it's done. So you can see it's a lot easier to use this bezel setting punch set as opposed to pulling the bezel over bit by bit with another hand tool. Now, one thing that happens is these are really thin, these 2mm rings, which are good and bad. They hold up great, but they can get distorted a little bit. I love the size because to represent a little birthstone with other rings stacking, I think is really cool. But because I was pushing down on it so hard, I sort of flattened it out there. So I'm just going to put it on a ring mandrel. And I might be able to do it with my hand just by pushing it up, but I'm going to do a little tippy tap here. To round it out. And while you're here, you may want to just go all the way around to harden the ring. Let's see. One last tip for you. If you don't have a ring clamp, you can put the ring on your ring mandrel and brace it against a table or a bench pin and use that as your spot where you're gonna set your stone. And there we go. Here is a close-up of both of the rings. I anticipate getting the question of, can I set your flatback crystals in these rings? And the answer is kinda. The 1.8mm flatback crystal doesn't fit quite right in the 2mm ring. You can see here it's kind of odd shaped and gappy because the inner diameter of the bezel is too big for the diameter of the crystal. So the bezel had to come over quite a bit to cover it, and it's hard to do that evenly. So for me, I wasn't able to successfully get the flatback small crystal to work in the 2mm ring. However, I was able to get the 3.8mm flatback crystal to set really nicely into the 4mm ring, so that's kind of fun. But keep in mind that the crystals are super fragile, so if you nick it with a tool, you'll probably chip it.